My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh. My life be like, ooh, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh. My life be like, yeah, ooh. My life be like times like these that make you say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way.
From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, please welcome Peter Mata.
My life be like times like these that make you say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs for when I stray. Yeah, I'm sacrificing the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, my heart feels I be more like you. Try not to put the fire with the things I like. Be like times like these that make me say, yeah, Lord, if you see me, please come my way. Like leaving breadcrumbs for when I stray. Yeah, I'm sacrificing the price you pay. Like living like a fingertip. Sometimes I fall, I slip. Yeah, my heart feels I be more like you.
All right, Peter, Anaks Peter, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. We have a very exciting show planned today. Today, we're talking about the return of the NBA and all of its surrounding pieces as far as the bubble is concerned. We're going to go over our predictions for some of the awards that are going to be given out postseason, as well as going into some of our predictions in how the season is going to unfold down in Orlando. So, Peter, welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Ryan. How's everyone else doing out there?
Everyone else is doing well. We're all very excited for the NBA to finally be back. I know we gotten a chance to watch some scrimmages this past week, so even that is tingling the senses already ever so slightly. So I'm excited. We have a very fun podcast show planned. This is all strictly NBA talk, so I know hopefully you guys enjoyed our movie talk, our movie podcast, our previous podcast, and then the podcast prior to that, which was all around sports. Today, we're strictly focusing on the bubble and NBA. So, Peter, I'll let you segue into our first topic that we're going to be talking about. It's kind of a widely open topic, but just the NBA as a whole. How are you feeling that it's back finally down in Orlando?
I'm loving it, man. This is the week. What's today? July 27th. In 4 days, they're coming back, I think. We've just seen, just like you said, just a little taste. Scrimmages, just like, dipping our toes in the water just a little bit. It's like, ooh, okay, that's what that feels like. So, yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm honestly, people have been, I guess, giving some complaints, even some players' complaints about the bubble and the environment going on. But as a fan, I'm loving every minute of it, whether it's good or bad for them. I hope everyone's safe first and foremost. But I mean, as a fan, I'm enjoying every bit of the shenanigans, especially the little things where Lou Williams, might have went to a strip club or something.
Apparently, he was going for hot wings, but at the end of the
hot
day,
wing strip clubs, it could be anything.
Could be all of the above. I mean, who knows? It's Lou Williams, but yeah, go on, Peter.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome. Just like those little things, just seeing like people are going outside the bubble for almost, you would say, stupid reasons, but we have no idea. And you're really just curious as a fan as how this is going to work, because honestly, this is something that's never been done before. It's never going to be done again, probably. So it's just like one big social experiment that we're going to do, and I'm just looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, I hope our teams – I'm a Pelican fan, so I'm hoping they're going to do well. I know you got some thoughts for your hometown Lakers and on this topic itself. So what do you think?
I mean, similar to you, Peter, I've just been so sports deprived. So even just seeing our favorite athletes, out there practicing or in the bubble, just hanging out, being normal individuals, because I mean, most of the time outside of basketball, we see our athletes, showing off their extravagant houses, and now they're all confined in this one little summer camp vibe. You're really getting a taste to see, you're really getting a taste of their personalities, and it's really coming to fold. But yeah, going back to obviously health and this pandemic, and it's being prioritized at at its highest as it should be.
Mhm.
It's going to be really interesting to see how the NBA is going to progress, how strict they're going to follow those protocols.
Right.
Because like you mentioned, Peter, I mean, Lou Williams had a little fun night out getting some hot wings, and that turned into what it
10
has turned
days,
into.
like a
So
10-day suspension, essentially. Yeah.
exactly. So seeing how the NBA is going to react to certain things and what are they going to deem, a suspension worthy outing. Because I know, I mean, Zion just recently had
Right.
to leave the bubble for a family emergency. And I know during the time he was outside of the bubble, he was still getting tested daily. And then upon returning, he's going to then spend, I think, 4 days in quarantine
Right.
alone, and then
Right.
still get tested before he's able to reunite with his team. But yeah, there's so many puzzle pieces that need to be sorted out because, I mean, this is an ongoing and moving pandemic. So still, even to this day, we're still unsure of everything that's going on. So I think for the most part, the NBA, I mean, at least I'm happy that we have a season going.
Right.
I've been following, I don't know if you've been watching, Peter, but JaVale McGee and
Yes, I was just thinking that.
Thibault. Thibault is someone, or Thibault, he's someone that, he's not a household name by any stretch of the imagination when we're talking about the NBA and
Mhm.
pro athlete for that matter. And he's kind of built his brand within this last,
Right.
couple weeks by just making his vlogs and putting that out there, because I know all of the NBA fans that I've talked to that have even gotten a glimpse of the vlogs, I mean, they're loving it just because it's an added perspective, and you get to really see what these players are going through on the daily, the amount of
Behind the
testing
scenes.
that they have to go through,
Yeah.
the food that they're eating. Some of it doesn't really look too appetizing, but
Oh.
just the overall experience, it kind of humanizes, if you will, NBA players and what's going on. Just because it seems like they're at like a summer camp where they're just playing basketball all
Right.
day.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of implications though, and we're going to go over that in today's podcast, just on how this season is going to differentiate than seasons past, and like you mentioned, seasons moving forward, because this is probably the only time we're going to ever experience this. So we're taking it in as consumers, and I know Peter and myself, we're extremely excited to even have NBA and to talk about it. So the first couple of scrimmages, they've been interesting, some sloppy play, some weird wackiness going on, but that's what you expect.
Right. It's a preseason, essentially.
It's preseason. Essentially, it's just preseason, and they're just loosening up the gears, if you will, and preparing for the final stretch of the regular season and then into the playoffs if the teams so happen to make the playoffs. But yeah, so did you like what they've been doing with the fans? I know no home court advantage, so they've been just trying to be creative with it.
Yeah, I do actually like. They've been very creative with it. Like for instance, I was obviously watching the Pelicans, and I guess it was some sort of a home scrimmage for them. So they're putting up, their sponsors, like as if you were in the Smoothie King arena and you see their sponsors, Smoothie King or Louisiana Healthcare Connections, or just any sort of sponsors that just makes it feel like you're in the Smoothie King Center. And I think that's very creative. I mean, they're doing the best with what they have. And then I've also heard that, they're going to do some sort of like Zoom or virtual experience where a certain amount of fans are going to get to view it. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I mean,
I did notice that the Lakers had a scrimmage earlier today, and in that same area where they've been kind of broadcasting the virtual stuff, they've had sections. It's like kind of like so many screens of just different fans just viewing.
I haven't really seen it. Is it like kind of like what they did with the NFL drafts, or like you can?
Yeah, very similar to that. Very similar to that, except just expanded across like the whole court area.
Whole area. Okay,
but I mean, it looks nice. And at the end of the day, anything to really, because you're not going to replicate exactly a crowd being there, because just that human interaction of fans being present is such. I mean, you can't. There's nothing really you can do. But as far as the sounds are and everything, just to kind of create that, so as a viewer, when we're watching the games, it still brings that intensity
as close as you can get. I mean, like watching some of like I guess just like the phone cameras or like handheld cameras other than TV camera, it's just like it is a little weird still. It's like, I mean, there's no sound. It sounds like they're in a practice gym. They try to make as much as close they can, but I mean, what are you going to do? At this point, it's pure basketball. Just play the game, baby.
Pure basketball, and that's what we're excited for. But before we jump into our predictions of how the season's going to unfold, we're going to go over some of our predictions for the awards that are going to be given out. So Rookie of the Year. So that's the first award. I'll start us off, Peter. But my prediction, we're just going to jump right into it. Rookie of the Year prediction for me, I'm not sure how you're going to take this because you're a Pelicans fan, but I'm going with Ja Morant, Memphis Grizzlies. Out of all the rookies, I think that Ja Morant has had the most incredible season out of them. You know, the numbers aren't, jumping at you, but I think watching the times and watching his highlights, it definitely stands out that this guy has star potential for sure. His explosiveness is similar to like a Russell Westbrook. Obviously, Memphis is such a young team, so he's gotten to kind of flourish in the role that he was presented. So I'm going with Ja Morant, averaged close to 18 points a game, close to 7 assists, not bad. And the Memphis Grizzlies, who would have thought, 8th seed right now. So Ja Morant is my prediction for Rookie of the Year. Peter, I'd like to hear yours.
All right. Well, I'm going with a little mix. I'm going to say Zion Williamson and Ja Morant go co-Rookie of the Year. And just like you said for Ja Morant, he's had a great season. He's had the longevity, so to speak, I guess, as a rookie. He's played most of the games. He's put the numbers up, and he's been consistent. And, he's got that star potential. He's dunking on people, nasty handles, what have you. But, I mean, Zion Williamson, obviously I'm a Pelicans fan. It's going to sound like I'm being, biased or anything. But
bias, yes, you are.
No. The dude, let me tell you, it's not just the stats. The 23 points are nice a game, but just the physicality, I guess you would say. It's like a baby Shaq Barkley, whatever you want to call it, playing. And it's just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just like bully ball. He's like a big old bowling ball down the lane, and, he just moves you. He probably doesn't even need to touch you to move you. And he's just been so dominant. I know, again, like, 17 games he's played or so. That's not a lot, but I mean, the eye test tells you otherwise. I mean, this guy, I think, deserves a shout out and deserves to get the part of this award. And look, it's been done before. They did it with Grant Hill and Jason Kidd back in 94, 95, and Elton Brand and Steve Francis in 99, 2000. So I think it can be done. I think it's the right thing to do. And honestly, with Zion, actually, he will be back. So he did come back into the bubble. He will be back. And we're a different team. The Pelicans are a different team with Zion Williamson. And they were just getting their stride already going into the bubble. I think they're going to win most of their games coming in. And it's going to be very convincing as to why he will be a co-Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, Zion has obviously deserved all the attention that he has gotten up to this point. And I personally think that when it's all said and done, when both Ja Morant and Zion Williamson's careers are finished, Zion's going to have a far better career. And he has, I would say, the most talent that we've ever seen in a long time, right. Especially coming out of Duke and just all the hype surrounding him and the fact that he's had to deal with that. And, of course, I know injuries have plagued his early start.
Doesn't that suck?
But I think you mentioned it perfectly right there. Every time that he is on the floor and he does have that opportunity, you can see the impact he has. And so the only knock that I'm giving Zion and the only reason why I didn't have him there is just obviously the sample size is still so low. But, you mentioned it. That's something that they could do, the co-Rookie of the Year, just because Ja Morant's season in itself has been exceptional, and then the times that we have seen Zion, it's just been must-watch TV. It's stop what you're doing, watch TV.
First game, man. He's a free shooter. He's stacking up. And
so I think that's the only one thing I wish that we got to see a little bit more of him, because granted, if Zion had the same amount of games played as Ja Morant, he would have ran away with the rookie.
I think he'd average better. Because he'd be healthy. He'd be healthy.
And Pelicans would probably be sitting, I don't know, maybe 5th seed, 6th seed, 4th seed. Who knows? But yeah, definitely good picks there for Rookie of the Year to start us off. So myself, I had John Morant, and then Peter with a nice little, not a hot take, but it is a little hot. It's a little spicy with the co-Rookie of the Years, both with John Morant and Zion, his hometown Zion Williamson. So we'll move along. We'll segue into Sixth Man of the Year. And for myself, I'm going with Montrezl Harrell, LA Clippers. So Lou Williams, he's been a hot topic of discussion, but he's won the last two Sixth Mans of the Years. And so I have his teammate Montrez winning this year. I mean, just to see what he does off the bench for that Clippers team, just brings the energy, brings the efficiency. I mean, everything that's just what you want out of Sixth Man. You know, and he's not someone that really wants that limelight. He does the dirty work. He's averaged close to 19 points per game off the bench. I mean, that's remarkable. And then 7 rebounds a game. So, I mean, that's starting numbers, if you will. But the fact that
back in the day,
Clippers,
all-star.
That's an all-star. That's all-star numbers right there. So, just the fact that he can do that off the bench, and then with the team that the Clippers already have. I mean, they have a stacked team. They have Kawhi, Paul George, a lot of guys that can put up points. Lou Williams still on the team, and the fact that he can still get those numbers and contribute in a way that, you know, it turns into dubs. It turns into W. So, efficient player, and every time I seem to watch him, I'm just like, that's someone that I would want on my team, you know. And so, especially coming off the bench. So that is my number. That's my Sixth Man pick of the year.
I'm actually right there with you. I have him as my Sixth Man of the Year.
Ooh,
I mean, the dude, like, he's averaging about the same as Lou Williams points wise, and really no plays are called for him at all. That's all hustle work. It's very similar to, you know, when Manimal, Kenneth Faried was doing his thing. It's very similar type of game. And he's affecting the game in more ways than Lou Williams. And Lou Williams, I mean, he probably could win Sixth Man of the Year every year. So might as well, you know, give it to your teammate, you know, a little bit. And that probably could play a factor. I mean, it's happened before with Michael Jordan as MVP and LeBron James being MVP too much and, you know, voter fatigue and things like that. Yeah. So, I mean, that it's realistic. It probably does happen. But, yeah, like you said, dude, I mean, he's putting up, you know, back in the day, that's all-star numbers. And he's a guy that plays with such a passion and such a veracity. You know, he does that little shimmy dance or whatever he does.
And one!
You know, as a opponent, you know, you're like, God, stop it, dude. Stop grinding on me so hard. And but yeah, if he was on your team, you'd love it. So, yeah, Montrezl Harrell is my pick. I'll give a shout-out, like we said, to Lou Williams, but also Dennis Schroeder for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think he's had a great season. I think he's averaging for like 18 and 7 off the bench. I've always loved Dennis Schroeder, so I'll give him a shout-out. Yeah,
I mean, and Dennis Schroeder, I'm glad you mentioned him too, someone that honorable mention for him, because he is someone, and OKC as a whole, you know, they've done far better than what anybody has predicted them to do. But I think it helps that, you know, Schroeder is someone that I would seem that he's always been underrated. You know, he hasn't really received the credit that he deserves because he's been an exceptional, solid point guard.
I think he could be Rondo. Like if he had like a big three around him, he easily could be Rondo.
Yeah,
a good Rondo, playoff Rondo, not regular
playoff. We see all sorts of Rondos, but yeah, I can't agree more with Montrez. But yeah, definitely shout out to both Lou Williams. If you're still at the club over there,
eating your
hot wing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so can't agree more with Montrezl Harrell though. Someone that is well deserving of the Sixth Man of the Year award, and who knows, probably not going to be the last time he gets the Sixth Man of the Year award. And moving along, so most improved player. MIP. For me, I'm going with someone near and dear to my Laker heart. Someone that I hated to see go last year, but it's going to a team that you dearly love. I'm going with Brandon Ingram. I mean, fantastic year that he's shown up until obviously the break. But I mean, just to see, because I've watched Brandon Ingram grow from when he first joined the league,
rookie,
on the Lakers as a rookie, and then, you know, you always saw the talent was there. You were just waiting for him to break out of his shell, if you will. And I think we got a glimpse of that, and not only a glimpse, we got a really full picture of what he's capable of becoming in New Orleans. And I mean, just his numbers and efficiency and 3-point shooting, free throw percentage, all of that went up. And on top of that, I mean, he looks a lot more comfortable and he looks a lot more relaxed out there playing. And he's someone that I've enjoyed watching this year and continuing on. He has all-star potential, no doubt. And he has superstar potential, no doubt. So someone, obviously, if he's paired up with Zion, I mean, it's going to be very scary when those two reach their full potential.
Exactly.
Just because Zion, how selfless he is, and who knows how long Lonzo stays with you guys as well. I mean, just it's the perfect situation for Brandon Ingram, and he showed what he's capable of. He's my most improved player this year, Peter. So I'd love to hear yours.
I'm right there with you again.
Oh, we're matching today.
Brandon Ingram, man. He is my pick for most improved player. Everything, agreed with everything you said. He's more within himself. He's comfortable in his own skin now. Yeah, as you do as a young adult, you get comfortable with with who you are and with what you're doing. And I think New Orleans is a place that suits him well. You know, maybe the pressure's a little off. Maybe it's a little bit more like where he grew up. But in terms of basketball, man, I love watching him play. It's different. You know, as a Pelicans fan, I can confidently say personally I was preferring Jason Tatum once, you know, during the Anthony Davis trade rumors and everything. And the Celtics were possibly offering Tatum. I was leaning more towards wanting Jason Tatum. But, you know, after getting Brandon Ingram and seeing him play, I'm so much more glad that we got Brandon Ingram. He plays with such a certain feel. It's kind of old school game, a lot of mid-range jumpers, but it's silky and smooth. And, you know, he's not just a scorer either. You know, he's using those long arms and that length that he has on defense, rebounding. And, you know, along with him being more comfortable in his skin, he's taking up a little bit more of a leadership role. You know, I've seen so many times during the season, you know, we have a bunch of rookies, Jackson Hayes, for instance. You know, he takes the time, you know, when Jackson make a mistake, he's like, Rook, come here, you know, grab the ball. This is how you grab the ball in traffic. You know, go up there and get that motherfucker. And, yeah, you know, use your size. So, you know, just to see him take that leadership role, you know, that's awesome, along with everything that he's done. And he's an all-star this year. So, you know, the production along with the talent's there. I'm excited to see, like you said, with all that talent we have now, it's young and it's
scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary. Just because, I mean, we're kind of coming out of the Golden State era. Well, I hope so. And kind of seeing how they formed their team and their nucleus. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it's exactly the same what the Pelicans are doing, but you can kind of feel something magical going on down there.
It's organic too.
Yeah, it's organic. And all those players that are down there, it seems like they've bought into that system and they're willing to, you know, take the sacrifices or make those sacrifices, whatever they have to do for the team. And they're all so young. Mm-hmm. I mean, Zoe is still young. Zion's still young. Even
they made it us, basically.
Yeah. And so if you guys keep that core intact, I mean, it's going to be scary just because Ingram's just still showing what he's capable of. It's not even close to what his full potential is. But I think the Laker years definitely helped him. Yeah, because, I mean, when you go to the Lakers, it's just like the spotlight 24/7 is always on you, especially when you're the number 2 pick. And so I think, and at the time, there wasn't really that mentor or leader on our team in general. So it was
Kobe had just left, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Kobe had just left, and so our team was terrible still. So we didn't really have that culture of winning and leadership, and it was still kind of a mess. So I think going into New Orleans, especially as he's matured a little bit, definitely able to take on a little bit more of a leadership role. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what goes past this year.
A shout out to honorable mention Bam Adebayo. I saw he was the betting favorite as most improved player. I think he's improved, but I don't know necessarily if he's been an all-star this year, but I don't know if necessarily he's made quite the jump as Brandon Ingram has had. So
yeah, I think with Bam, I mean, if you just look at what he produces and what his impact, I would say for sure. But in today's day and age, we like the pretty, you know, we like to watch something that's fun to watch. Bam, he kind of really has that
Mhm.
old school game where it's just, you know, fundamentals all day. And I think Bam was a great player and deservingly an all-star this year for sure,
Mhm.
because Miami too, they've exceeded expectation. But
Absolutely.
I mean, he's in the top, and he's obviously the betting favorite, as you just mentioned,
Mhm.
Peter. So, I mean, he's shown tremendous upside with this year, because I know that coming out of Kentucky, he was pretty hyped up. I know his name was floating around as, you know, oh, this
Bam
guy's
Bam.
going to be the next, yeah, Bam Bam. But I think his first couple of years, it was just so underwhelming. I'm not sure if he was injury prone or whatnot, but the fact that this year he was able to really, you know, plant his feet down and
Put it
have
together.
that major role in that team. I mean, great player too, great upcoming player too. So a lot of players to be excited about nonetheless. But glad you mentioned Mr. Bam Bam.
Bam Bam. I don't even know what that
Bam
is.
Bam. So we're heading off. We're moving along. Two more. These are probably well, they're all pretty great awards to win, but these last two are very prestigious nonetheless. We have Defensive Player of the Year. So
Go ahead.
as the old saying is, defense wins championships. Will this pick be an implication on who I choose later down in today's episode on who's going to win it? Who knows? That's for you to stick around. I have as my Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo. I have Mr. Greek Freak as the Defensive Player of the Year. So his stats don't jump out. You know, they're not something that you're going to look back 10 years from now and look at the stats and be like, oh my gosh, what a year that was defensively. I think, you know, we've seen Giannis similarly to like how we mentioned and how you mentioned how you've noticed how Brandon Ingram has improved on the defensive side. Same with Giannis. When he got to the league, scrawny kid, you know, always had that length. But now I think as we see him develop and his body develop as well, I mean, he's turned into a defensive wall, if you will. And so his stats don't jump out to you. Like I just mentioned, he averages 13.7 rebounds a game, which is phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal, but only 1 block and 1 steal. So those numbers don't really jump at you. But I think what he does for the Milwaukee team as a whole, his just presence there, I mean, that in itself is worthy of the Defensive Player of the Year, just because how much he impacts it when he's on the floor, you know, directing people. And Milwaukee's the #1 defense in the league as far as efficiency is concerned. And I think that's revolving around Giannis and what he does. I mean, just so long. I mean, just so athletic, right?
Wow.
So I think he deserves it. This may be voters' fatigue as well, just because we've just seen like the last couple of Defensive Player of the Year, you know, the Goberts and the DeAndre Jordans of the world, switching it up to someone more of a wing style player. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's my pick for this year's Defensive Player of the Year. What about you, Peter?
It's the same pick.
Oh man, we're on a good wavelength today.
Sir. Not on movies, but
different taste.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, Giannis, again, everything that you said, nothing really stands out. But, I mean, the thing that does stand out is his physicality. The man he's long, raw. Man, he's a beast. He is a beast.
Settle down.
And the thing is, I think he could improve even more. I think his game is so raw. Like last year, I didn't think if his season was so great, his production was so great, you had to give him the MVP. But the thing is, like, he's still got so much more to expand in his game. You know, he doesn't even really have a go-to move. Everything is kind of just like, you know, dribble drive, so to speak. And, you know, he's worked on his shot and it's gotten better. But there's just still room to improve. And, I mean, he's already producing greatly. And like we said, there's nothing that jumps out in terms of steals and blocks. But I did look up. He does have he's the best in terms of win shares, defensive win shares as a player. So he's the best defense in the league. Milwaukee is. He's the best player and defender on their team. Rightfully so. I think it's time for him to get a Defensive Player of the Year. One thing I've always been disappointed. My second place guy would be Anthony Davis. The thing is, Anthony Davis, the unibrow. I mean, obviously he's our former superstar here in New Orleans. The guy has so much talent. I really believe in his talent. It's just sort of, I guess, the way he plays is just it's always left me with a little bit more to desire. You know, on the defensive side, he doesn't play the greatest. Sometimes help defense, at least when he was in New Orleans. I think he's probably gone better this year with LA. But you know, the thing is, he does get a lot of blocks, and you know, he's got long arms just like Giannis, so he's going to get some of those steals too. I kind of just more that instinct on defense, you know, that defense, the anchor the defense, and he could do a better job. And I think once he gets that, he'll get this Defensive Player of the Year one time.
I agree, because that's something for me, first year watching Anthony Davis as a fan of the team he's playing for, is that, and something I really didn't notice prior, but I think that he just needs to ramp up his intensity a little bit more, you know, whether it's just a leadership, you know, trait that is missing there, or just that desire and hunger. You know, you need to implement that Montrezl Harrell mentality into Anthony Davis, and that's scary. You know,
a little really KG, maybe. You know?
Yeah, a little bit of KG, just something that really is going to get going, because that's something that I've seen throughout this year in particular that he's lacked. It's just that notch up of intensity level, you know, especially when Bron is out, you know, and he's that star player that's in. He has so much potential. It's there. I mean, he shows it.
There, he could carry a team if he really wanted to. But
yeah,
you got that trait, like we've been talking about.
Yeah. So there we have it. Giannis, consensus Defensive Player of the Year. Can't agree more, as the last three picks have been as well. But will there be a shakeup in the MVP? We'll see. That's MVP, my pick this year. I mean, let's be honest. It's a 2-horse race, if you will. It's a 2-horse race.
Who are you going to go with? Which one?
I'm going with my team and the leader of my team. I'm going with LBJ. MVP. I just think, you know, this being his 17th year, and just to produce what he's been producing, and it's also the eye test. I mean, if you were to show someone a game of the Lakers, you know, back in February, that's never watched, you would think LeBron is just reaching his prime, or looks about to reach his prime. But the fact that he's 35 years old, I mean, he has a gray beard now. I don't even know if you saw it. It makes me feel weird. Like, I think I'm in a different
each
dimension.
day too.
Grayer each day, balder each day. But nonetheless, he's still showing that athleticism and just raw talent that he had going into the league. And the fact that he hasn't slowed a beat, I mean, it's just remarkable. He's led the league in assists this year. First time he's done that. I think he's played more of a point guard role or point forward role on this Laker team. And I know for sure he will going into the bubble, because Rondo is nowhere to be found.
Motel 6. Someone check Motel 6.
Yeah, that's right. So I think, I mean, just what we've seen, and we all know, and we've all heard of the LeBron and MJ debate, especially while The Last Dance was airing and going on. But I think for what it is, I mean, we got to love LeBron as a facilitator as much as we've gotten to love him as a basketball player. So I think this year, what he's shown just from a playmaking standpoint, the fact that he's still able to make those plays and the IQ is just out the door. He is my 2019-2020 MVP. Peter, the floor is yours.
Good pick. Like you said, it's a 2-man race. I'm very close. I'm very close. But my heart says LeBron, but my head says Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis. I think Giannis will win it. They've got the best record. Like we were just talking about, he's just starting his career really and producing these big ass numbers. The talent, the production, their team is winning. Like I said, my head is saying Giannis, but everything you just said about LeBron, I've considered too. I mean, the man is 35 years old. He's carrying the team. Anthony Davis is obviously a huge add from last year, but a lot of it, Anthony Davis's production is from the leadership of LeBron. He's facilitating. They don't really have much of a point guard play this year. But I don't know. I honestly, it's so up in the air. I think it's even these last few games even will determine it. But I'm going to say Giannis and by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, and it's a close race.
It
and,
is.
I mean, even last year was very close with Giannis and James Harden, but I think this year too. I mean, I think the break didn't even help out the cause either, because it just created like more of like, dang, well, it's been even a while since we've seen him actually play. But I think both LeBron and Giannis are deserving of the award. It's so tight though.
MVP.
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't do that, Peter, with that one. But Giannis, I mean, he has so many more years ahead of him. I think that he's going to win multiple MVPs down the line past this year. So maybe,
it could.
Yeah, it may be the voters may be a little bit kind to LeBron, who hasn't won an MVP in a while. You know, we went through the Russell, James Harden, and then last year was Giannis, and then the Steph years too, where he was winning unanimous MVP, and then the KD. So it's been a while since LeBron has won that MVP award. So I think the voters may sway a little bit in LeBron's favor, just due to the fact that they know LeBron doesn't have too many more years left.
That's a mental factor.
Mm-hmm. And then Giannis, they know, I mean, it's so scary because, I mean, he still hasn't even reached his potential, because sometimes when you see him, especially on, I mean, both sides of the ball, but I mean, on the offensive side, you can kind of tell when someone's really smooth and really has crafted their game to their strengths. You see Giannis, it's just like, you don't know what's going on. He's just relying on pure athleticism. Right. And the fact that he's able to still get those numbers is so impressive and so scary for anybody that, you know, isn't a Bucks fan. But yeah, so it's going to be a tight race. And I think you said it, Peter. I think even the next few weeks, you know, how they're performing in the bubble is going to be a deciding factor on who eventually gets to raise that MVP trophy at the end of the year. But there we have it. We have our picks. I hope you guys enjoyed the picks portion as far as awards are concerned. But me and Peter had a little bit more agreeing than disagreeing. So straying away from the norm, but it's okay. We had our points and they were pretty valid. So if you disagree with them, hit us up. I want to hear your take on it. I really do, because I'm pretty firm about my takes, and I'm sure Peter is firm on his takes as well. But there we have it. 2019-2020. It has been an unprecedented year, to say the least. So who knows? There may be another shakeup in the ballots. Who knows? But we're going to go into it. We're going to go into our predictions on how the season and how we believe the season is going to unfold. Peter, I'm going to start off with you. We'll start off with the Eastern Conference.
Hello.
I always call it the Leastern Conference because it always seems to be a little bit less competitive. But with the bubble and with everything going on, I feel like it's fair game. You know, everyone's kind of on that same level as far as opportunity. You know, there's so much talent on every team, but we'll see where it goes. I'm interested. We're going to start off with dark horse pick. So Peter's going to give the dark horse pick of the East in his opinion, and then I'm going to give the dark horse pick. And then we're going to go down the line, alternate, and then pick contenders. So a team that we think is going to contend for the chip, really, really contend for the chip. And then our favorite for each conference. So which team do we think
at this point, right? Yeah.
Yeah, at this point is most likely, not necessarily our pick to win it all or our pick to really do it, but at this point, who's the favorite, you know, in each conference. So we're going to go over that in each respective conference. And then finally, when that's all done, we're going to give our champion prediction to see who we believe is going to hoist up the Larry O'Brien Trophy this year in Orlando. So Peter, we'll start off. I'll have Peter start off. We're going to have you start off for the East. And then when it's West, we'll flip that. All right. And I'll start off the picks for that. So the East, let me hear it, Peter. Dark horse.
Dark horse. Like you said, with the East, it's so like even. So there's really no top teams and bottom teams that you can really, you know, pick confidently. But I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers. And there you go again. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if all of y'all have seen the highlights recently, just of the practice or anything. They look like they're focused. They're ready. They're ready to put it all together. And we all know the talent's there. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and now they got Al Horford and all the other pieces around them. They just look ready. Maybe not playing in front of a crowd, maybe it focuses them more. I don't know. That's going to be the interesting thing with this bubble. We have no idea how players are going to react, teams are going to react. But I don't know. I like to look in the eye. Of course, this is a dark horse pick. They very well might not get into it. People are probably not very hyped when the season had came to a stop after COVID-19 and everything. Maybe people were going in there like, the 76ers is probably not going to do it this year. But I don't know. I like what I'm seeing on tape. So that's my pick. I'm sure that's probably your pick, judging by your reaction.
I got that nice little grin just because that too is my pick. I have the Philadelphia 76ers as my dark horse pick. They are currently sitting at the 6th seed in the East, so obviously with still some of the games to be played. But like you mentioned, Peter, not really too many people are hyped about them. They have the talent for sure, no doubt. The reason why they're my dark horse pick is I think in this bubble, it's going to be major to have that team chemistry. It's going to be even more so. And so I think right now, I know we've gotten a little bit of an inside take on it just due to the fact that that bully is vlogging everyone. And I mean, it all looks happy-go-lucky, but, I'm sold. It looks to me that that's a team that when it's time to grind it out and it's playoff time, there's, Al Horford, who's a veteran when it comes to playoff basketball. So he can kind of lead them. But I think that chemistry-wise is going to play a huge part in the bubble as a whole, because you're spending all day, every day with these guys. And all you're doing is basketball, or all you're doing is, when you have your free time, hanging out with them. So I think, if anything, it's just going to really enhance how close and how much chemistry you have with your teammates. And I think that's going to go a long way. Because when something starts to go wrong, it's not like you go back to your own house, if the season was normal, and then you can kind of, vent away or do what you want to do. Here, you're just stuck seeing them hour after hour after hour. And so that's why I think, Philly, with what I've seen so far, they have the talent to do it and the chemistry. I'm not going to say they're well coached because I don't really think Brett Brown's that good of a coach. But they have the talent to do it. And I think they're not a team that is so reliant on home court anyways. And I'm going to mention, like the Utah and the Denvers, who are just like so reliant on that home court advantage with those fans just screaming at you. I think Philly's not really a team that relies too much on the home court, and they have the talent to produce. They may be a little bit more comfortable, with no fans in the building. So something to see there. Obviously our dark horse prediction, because it's a little bit of a long shot, but Philly, I mean, they have the talent. They have Ben Simmons.
A long shot with them.
Yeah, they have Embiid. If Embiid is the Embiid that we all need to see as far as what he's capable of, because he is someone that can win you a playoff game, win you 2 games in a row when he gets hot, especially when he gets really, really comfortable in that paint area. Because, I mean, they have the team now to really go for a championship, and I think this is the perfect time to in this bubble. But yeah, going back to what I said, highlighting on the chemistry aspect, really big to see how teams' chemistries fare throughout this all, because like I said, they're just spending all day, every day with each other. So who knows how tempers are going to turn out. So
teammates.
That's our dark horse prediction for the East. We both got Philly.
Contenders, have one, maybe different.
Yeah. Contender. Peter, who you got for your contender in the Eastern Conference?
The Boston Celtics. Here we go again.
We got the same pick. I'll let you explain, but I got to say, these are just spot-on picks, Peter. I mean, I would say I couldn't have made it, but I actually did make it. So we're both making these exceptional picks. But I'd like to hear a little bit of your thesis and why the Celtics are your contenders.
Sure. I'll give you a little background, a little substance to the Flash. I mean, what's not to like about the Celtics? They've got all the talent in the world, just like Philadelphia. Young talent, too, at that. I mean, I can go off the list. Obviously, Kemba, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. You'd say that's your core, and you mentioned all the other players that they have. I mean, you're.
Did you say Taco?
Yeah.
You got to say Taco.
Oh, Taco. How can I forget Taco?
I know. I'm sorry, but I had to mention him. Shout out Taco.
Yeah, biggest dude I've ever seen outside Shaq. But yeah, yeah. I mean, the talent's there. They've always been pretty solid all the way around. Brad Stevens, a great coach, I think. And I don't know. I think maybe Kemba, his style of play might work better than Kyrie Irving's did with them, and they're just a little bit more sound than Philadelphia. I think, their top talent is very equal with Philadelphia, but they've usually played a little bit more consistent and a little bit more sound. I'm guessing because of the coaching, like you said, Brett Brown. The book is still out on me on Brett Brown. I have no idea. He's tanked so many years, so we have really no idea if he's a good or bad coach. But, yeah, back to the Celtics. I think they've got the tools to do it. They've got the coach to do it. I think they're going to make a deep run. Whether or not they're going to be the champions or not, I don't know. I don't know if they can get over that hump. That's actually, I would say, I don't know if they can get over that hump. They're really going to have to play outstanding and solid ball outside of that. So that's my pick. Like you said, it's your
Yep. I mean,
what's your thoughts?
To kind of echo what you just mentioned, Peter, I think, and Boston is my contender pick as well. So me and Peter matching picks again.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think talent-wise, it's very similar to the 76ers, but the one thing that I think the 76ers has lacked still is just that consistency, putting out that consistent play. As I mentioned, Embiid, still inconsistent. Ben Simmons, I mean, is he going to make these threes? I mean, I've seen a few highlights of him.
We've seen the
taking
vids.
some corner threes. If that's consistent, that's going to be scary. Tobias Harris, knockdown shooter. Can he be consistent? Those are kind of the reasons why I don't have these teams flipped and I have Philly as a contender, because like we mentioned, they have both talent. Boston, if we go into their team, I mean, their team defensively too is just so cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
And when you watch them play defense too, it's not like one guy is just phenomenal. It's just they play good unitly.
Right.
And it may be a testament to also coaching and Brad Stevens, who is a phenomenal coach. One of the reasons also why I really have Boston going far. It's just that they seem to have that chemistry on the court. And when I mention chemistry with Philly, it's more so off the court. And like I mentioned, they're spending so much time. But I think when Boston plays games, they play at such a consistent clip. And I think having Kemba there, who is a veteran, an NBA veteran, you saw him and what he did at UConn, being a leader then, for damn sure, he's that leader in that locker room as well. And Boston, they have a solid team, solid coach. And I think under these circumstances, it fares well for them.
I don't want to spoil it whether or not you're going to pick them for 5, but I will say the reason why I don't technically think they're going to go deep, like I'll win it all, is generally because they do play so cohesively. It's like, who is the guy at the end of the day that you're going to give the ball to? Is it Kemba? Is it Jason Tatum? Is it Jaylen Brown? So sometimes they do have that issue with who is the main guy you're going to rely on late in the game. Obviously, it kind of exploded in their face when Kyrie was there. So it might explode again on their face. But that's why I don't have them winning all the way, because there's really no distinguishable guy that you're like, we're going to go to Jason Tatum. That's
I agree. I think Jason Tatum may be still a few years away.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we look back, or if we fast forward 2 years from now, and that team is still intact as far as the nucleus is concerned, I think Tatum is going to be that guy eventually. I still think that he's still coming to himself still. So that's why it can get a little tricky, especially we know in playoff situations where the game is shrink down into that half-court game. Every possession is huge, especially in the fourth quarter. Who's your go-to guy? Who's the one that's really going to be creating? And Kemba has shown, but he doesn't really have that playoff experience leading a team. Yeah, exactly. So it's something, maybe this is the breakout time. Maybe we'll see that happen. But yeah, I agree with you, Peter. They have the talent to be that favorite, but they're just missing that really alpha to just make sure, okay, ball's in my hands, we're down 1 with 35 seconds left, so on and so forth. I'm taking the shot or I'm creating.
Right.
And that's the kind of unknown with Boston. But talent-wise, from top to bottom, I mean, they're as depth as you can get. They're as deep as a team as you can get, and they're well coached with Brad Stevens there. So, Contender, Boston. Peter and I agree on that, and they're currently third seed right now. They're the third seed in the Eastern.
I think we're probably gonna agree on the favorites too.
Yeah. And this favorite pick is just kind of I think that it's everyone's favorite, especially out of the East this year. It's the Bucks, isn't it, Peter?
Yep.
We're talking about the Bucks.
Mm-hmm. We already talked a lot about Giannis, but let's talk a little bit more about the pieces around him. The Lopez brothers, specifically Brook Lopez and his resurgence from 3. Big dudes shooting threes, and it's working too.
And they're deep threes. They're deep.
He's a big dude too.
Yeah.
I just remember
I met him.
You met him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he played for Lakers. That's right.
Well, I met him when I was working at Disneyland, because they're like really big Disney fans. So they have like this Club 33. I don't even know if I'm even allowed to say that they are, but I don't work for them anymore. But they are Club 33 members, so it's like this exclusive club. Anyways, they used to stay at the hotel that I used to work for. So I got to meet both Brooke and Robin on a summer day. Yeah, I mean, super nice guys, goofy guys.
Goofy. I was just about to say they're goofy as can be.
They're goofy.
Sure.
But yeah, I think adding them to the equation in Milwaukee is just
Wesley Matthews, George Hill.
You know who I really like?
Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton is someone that, same thing. It's kind of like a Dennis Schroeder, or like.
I think he's like back in the day when the Hornets had Chris Paul and David West. He's sort of like David West, like a low key all-star. Like solid second dude.
He's a multi-all-star now, I believe, with this year. But I think it's just he doesn't really necessarily do anything flashy. He's not the sauciest player in the league by any stretch of the imagination, but he's efficient. And he's just a solid, like, number 2 guy, especially with how Giannis plays. Right. I think for that system, Chris Middleton is that solid number 2 guy, number 2 scorer, and someone that you can rely on even when Giannis is out. And
were you going to say Eric Bledsoe or something?
I love Eric Bledsoe. I've always loved his intensity because he brings that, dog mentality to the table. And that always, helps out a team, especially when, they're slumping or whatever the case may be. But someone that I think I've really enjoyed watching emerge is Dante DiVincenzo, someone that I've watched in Villanova, but he's kind of emerged as a role player on the Bucks. And the way he plays, I mean, it's just so complimentary to the Milwaukee Bucks style. And he plays hard on the defensive end. He's not a great defender, but he still works his tail off on the defensive end. But then, on the offensive side, he's just pure knockdown shooter. He can still create his own shot, but just someone that I've really enjoyed to watch. But this overall Bucks team from top to bottom, I've enjoyed to watch. They're a fantastic built team, and led by Giannis. It's going to be scary down the line. And
I think also the balance, like we were saying with the Celtics, while they're cohesive, but there's not like a distinguishable guy. I think just knowing that we're going to go to Giannis, he's going to create for us down the stretch, and we're going to live or die by that. That it's kind of one-dimensional, but it's also clear, like, this is the guy we're going to use, and we're going to live or die by it.
Yeah, they have an identity.
Right, that identity is huge compared to the Celtics, which you don't really know.
Yeah,
that's why they're the favorites.
All right, so Eastern Conference, we both went through it. Dark horse, contender, favorite. All 3 picks were both the same by me and Peter. We had Philly as the dark horse. We had Boston as a contender, and then we had the Bucks as the favorite. So,
yes, sir.
We shall see. We shall see if any of those teams either live up to our expectation of what they're going to do, or who knows, fold under pressure.
Yes,
something that we're going to wait and see in the coming months as we pan and segue over to the Western Conference.
Let's have some
or
fun.
As I like to call it, the Bestern Conference. The Bestern Conference. The best conference in the NBA. I got to say it to believe it.
Say it again for the people in the back.
That's right. So, with the West, I mean, we already know the talent from top to bottom. But let's go over dark horses. I'll start first, Peter.
Oh,
My dark horse prediction: Dallas Mavericks. And that's a true dark horse because I don't think anybody in their sober mind is going to pick the Dallas Mavericks to win it all this year. And me neither, but I think that they're a dark horse because it's just me hoping that Luka just really goes into another year as well and just shows what he's capable of doing on his own. And even with KP, because Dallas isn't really that depth. I mean, they're not deep. They're bench players. I mean, you got Tim Hardaway, you got Seth Curry, JJ Barea, Trey Burke, guys that aren't really going to jump out the gym or guys that aren't going to win you games. However, when you have a talent like Luka, when you put him in this situation, I mean, who knows? He may just ball out. And I got a chance to watch his scrimmage, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago. And just his ability and his craftiness to get to the hole and to create. I mean, it's so nice to watch. And especially with this Dallas team, I mean, they are bad outside of him and Porzingis. Don't get me wrong. But if they just sit back and watch Luka go, I mean, who knows? Just hit a three here or there.
The big ass.
Maybe, yeah. So they're my dark horse pick. I know it's a little. This is.
We're gonna have fun with this dark horse pick.
This is a really long shot of a pick, if you will. But I mean, who knows? Dallas. I mean, if KP can really knock down that three, and he was doing it at times really consistently. So it's something that it's not like we're asking for all the marbles to fall in the right spot. We're just asking for some.
Right.
And he can do it. And I think that, who knows, outside of that, they got Boban Marjanovic, who is also the biggest human being I think I've ever seen in my life outside of Taco Fall and Shaq. Who knows? He has a nice little role with the Dallas Mavericks. Like I said, I don't really see them winning at all, but it's just a team that I'm excited to watch. And they have the potential to really make some noise. Maybe a first-round upset. Who knows? Right now, they're the 7th seed, so I think they would play the Clippers.
Could be.
So that obviously doesn't fare too well. But who knows? Wherever they land, wherever the chips land, Dallas is a team with Luka who's phenomenal, and KP, if he plays well, that's a team that could be scary. It could be scary. It could be scary. Dark horse? Please don't tell me you have the same dark horse as me, because this one was a little bit far.
You think yours is like out, off the wall? Mine is. It's not even on the building. It is. Oh, no. Hear me out, guys. New Orleans Pelicans.
I had a feeling you were going to go there, but at the same time, I can't be mad at it because the NBA fan in me, not the Laker fan in me, the NBA fan in me, wants to see them make that 8th seed. But then the Laker fan in me doesn't.
No, I don't want to see them at all. Don't give me that. Yeah, man. I mean, we've been talking about the Pelicans and the talent that they have, the young talent. We don't know, like we've been saying, we don't know in this bubble environment what is going to be, the key factor, whether it's going to be depth, whether it's going to be youth or experience. We absolutely have no idea. It could be chemistry, like you've been mentioning. I mean, hell, Pelicans have all the talent in the world, and they were just gelling right before the stoppage. And I think, honestly, the stoppage might help in terms of taking some pressure off. It's kind of like we're just playing with house money now. Fuck it. Let's just play all out. Let's play with our young talent. Let's just do it. My hesitancy, I'm not the biggest fan of Alvin Gentry, but, man, with this talent, I don't think you can screw it up. Just roll the ball out there and let the boys play. And I don't know, man. Like I've said about Zion, he's a dominant dude. Brandon Ingram's come to his own this season. Lonzo and pretty much everyone has developed some good chemistry. The overall chemistry with the team is good. You got some veterans, J.J. Redick, Derek Favors, that could, steady the ship a little bit, Etuan Morrill even, Drew Holiday. So, dude, maybe I'm just too hyped for my team, but you never know.
You may be having some New Orleans bias with that pick, Peter,
just
but
a little bit.
As an NBA fan and as someone that's followed the league pretty much my whole life. They're a team that I think you said it. If they really have that mentality and they just let loose and just play, I mean, that could be a team scary, and that they can really disrupt a lot of things in the West. So we'll see. I think, though, one of the drawbacks in why I don't think they'll succeed is just the fact that they're just still so young, still so young. And so when it gets into that playoff mindset, it can go one of two ways. They can just really let loose and just play. Or I can see them really like becoming a shell of themselves. Exactly. So we'll see. But I think from a viewership standpoint, they're going to be the most fun team to watch, or one of the most fun teams.
We still have to make the playoffs, so
yeah. So you guys are almost there. You guys just got to stay, I think, within 4 games.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so if you guys stay within that 4-game reach of the 8th seed, you guys will get a play-in opportunity.
Yeah, it's basically like a 3-game series, or like technically a 3-game series. I mean, if we win it, then we have to play another one. If we lose, it's done. So,
but I mean, I'm going to circle every game that the Pelicans have on my calendar just because of, if they really let loose, it's going to be fun basketball. It's going to be fun basketball to watch. So we shall see. That's going to be very fun to watch. And I know, when everyone's ready to go, I mean, I'm just so excited to see Zion and Ingram and them lace them up. But that's our dark horse picks. I had Dallas and Peter. We finally disagreed on something, or we finally had different picks. Peter have the Pelicans. So those are 2 very, very dark horse picks, if you will, long shots, if you will. But 2 teams that I think we're both very excited to even just watch play, just because of how much young talent that both of the teams have. Moving along, though, we have our contender picks.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to start us off again. Contender, my contender, Western Conference, Western Conference. Controversial pick.
Oh.
I got Houston Rockets and Mike D'Antoni's run and gun as my contender pick. And this is going to be a shocking pick because it took me a while to decide, all right, because I feel like everybody knows who my favorite is going to be. But when it comes to contender, I think Houston, this is what they want right now. Because sometimes, and Houston's notorious for choking. They choked at home against the Warriors. Sometimes Harden himself is known to choke under really big playoff implications and circumstances. But I think with him and Russ, if they just let loose, similar to what we were just talking about with Pelicans, that's a team. And you live by the 3, you die by the 3. That's something very, very well known. And Mike D'Antoni knows that very well. But I think that Houston could really get a roll because they have Russ and James, who's 2 top, 8 or 9 players in the league. I mean, if you
top 15, definitely for sure.
Yeah, top 15 for sure. But they play such a small ball lineup, and so it's going to be such a fast-paced, frenetic type of game. They may be able to go on some runs that really could just choke up some teams. So that's my pick. I mean, I don't really have much factual data supporting it. It's just my gut feeling. Houston has failed pretty much, the last decade, if you will, with whatever they've put out, and they've had teams capable of making those runs. But I think, who knows, with what's going on, like I said, everything's just a toss-up right now. And I think if they go small, and they could really, and that's a lineup that really can do some damage on the 3-point line. Like, they can really put in that work. So that's my team, Houston. You live by the 3, you die by the 3. So I might be dying by that pick, though, because who knows, Houston is a team that can straight up get swept in the first round and, not even see the light of the day in the playoffs. But who knows? They're a team that can go, and we saw it a couple of years ago with Chris Paul there. They challenged Golden State, and they very well should have won that series. Who knows if James Harden is cooking with that beard of his? I mean, who knows? Who knows? He has so much talent. Yeah. That's my contender pick. Houston, they currently sit at the 6th seed. So obviously tough tough mountain to climb,
Yeah.
especially if they get past that first round because
Yeah.
pretty much if you have to go through Lakers or Clippers, it's going to be a tough out.
Yeah.
But
I like it.
There's-
I like the pick.
yeah, that's my pick. Houston Rockets, run and gun.
PJ Tucker and Covington as your front court. Hell,
Yeah, that's-
why not?
I mean, you're gonna deploy PJ Tucker as your center and Cove, and you got James, and you got. I mean, who knows? Who knows? It's Mike D'Antoni
I respect it though. I do respect that they're saying
because they went all in. You know,
yeah, they're like we're going up. We're gonna do it.
you know what, Capella, you're great and all, but I like Covington. It's like, all right, I mean,
We're just gonna do it, guys.
yeah, we're gonna do it.
It's
So
like last year with
I admire the buy-in though.
Yeah,
So that's
this
why
deal.
it's like if you're gonna buy in, you know, and you're gonna go 100,000 on black, you know, and you're
Might as
playing
well.
roulette. You're gonna go. Might as well just put the whole house while you're at it.
The
So,
longest shots pay off the biggest.
that's right. So hey,
Good pick. I like it.
when James Harden is lifting up the Larry O'Brien Trophy, I'm just kidding. I don't want to say that, but they're my contender pick. They will contend, and whoever they get and whoever they meet in the playoffs is going to have a tough out, in my
A
opinion.
handful.
Peter, contender pick.
My contender pick, it's pretty basic. It's the Los Angeles Clippers. For the reasons we've listed before, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, Lou Williams, may I go on? I mean, the guys, that's a stacked team as is, and they've got some really good role players. Just a solid team offensively, defensively. Doc Rivers as the head coach. They feel gritty to me. They feel like they're built to go deep. They've been load managing like crazy during this whole year. And so, I mean, obviously we've had a huge load management over the last 4 months with everything going on. But, I mean, maybe they're fresh. That's what I'm thinking. They're fresh. They're ready to go. They're ready to make a deep run. Kawhi Leonard is the defending champion. You know, he knows. I feel like he's got the recipe for success, and all he has to do is just, sprinkle a little on the team. And, Paul George was just coming back from injury. So that's a little up in the air, but I think the talent's still there, and he's going to, level up his game going into the playoffs and everything like that. We talked about Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, great. Not even role players. They're part of the nucleus. They're big-time players. I just think they're going to make some noise, more noise than maybe I'm leading on to. But that's my contender pick.
Clippers are a team that scare me very much. And I would have picked them as my contender, but I'm a Laker fan, so I can't really pick Clippers.
You can't be on record saying that.
Yeah. I mean, I picked Montrez, but that's so deserving. I mean, you got to give respect as respect is due. But when it comes to the contender picks and picking them to go far, I mean, I did pick Boston, but like I said, Boston is in the Eastern Conference. We're talking about the Western Conference over here. So that's why I would go with Houston. But with the Clippers, I mean, Kawhi is someone that we've seen last year, took that Raptors team all the way to the top. And he said, let me go down over there back to the Clippers and let me see if I can take them to the top. They have a better team with Paul George, with Montrez, with Lou, Zubac. I mean, the list goes on. They have a phenomenal team, deep. And they play with that, gritty,
tough
Grizzlies grind. There's a flavor of that. It's not exactly the same, but it is a shade of that. But I mean, with Paul George and Kawhi, two of the best wing players in the league, two of the best wing players we've seen in the last 20 years. It's scary because defensively they can really lock in as well and shut down an offense. But
could be a light version of
Clippers.
Jordan. Yeah. Just a super hot take. TBH.
TBH take. But with the Clippers, the reason why I can't buy in with them, because at the end of the day, they're the Clippers. That's it.
Bias, look, I did bias on my Pelicans. So.
It's fine. It's the Clippers. I mean, they haven't had any postseason success ever in their history, so can't really buy in just yet. When it happens, God forbid, then I will buy in. But
you know who didn't have any success? The Toronto Raptors.
That's true.
What happened last year?
They had no success. None whatsoever. They do have Drake, though.
Mm.
So he should be sixth man of the year, maybe next year, but or if
I'm
but
still waiting for my Raptors album for him. Yeah, I don't think has he come out with anything like that. I feel like
no, nothing. Like he came out with like a 2-track, Money in the Grave, and then
Yeah.
Omerta, I believe it's called, but then no like full length album. He did come out with the Dark Lane demo tapes just recently, but that's all.
Call it the anthem. There you go. There's a name, Drake. The anthem.
The anthem for the six. You know what I mean? You got to. They won the ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Come on
if
now.
you win the ship, you got to make an album.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was the contract.
he is. I think he is actually like associated with the team. I think he's like the ambassador.
Yeah, he's the ambassador, which is crazy.
Amazing. I thought it would be the other guy. You know the other guy?
The little,
I forgot his name, but billionaire. But nonetheless, Raptors, a team that we haven't mentioned yet. I'm glad we did, though, just because they are second place, so they deserve some shout out. Congrats for being second place in the Eastern Conference. But who knows what they're going to be? Who knows what they're going to do? But Pascal Siakam, he seems like he's been someone that also has improved tremendously. I think he was last year's most improved player,
right,
if I'm not mistaken. But, I mean, even this year he's shown tremendous leap. But it's the Raptors too, so who knows? Without Kawhi, maybe problematic in playoff time. But last pick of the day, we'll swing back to the Western Conference. No surprise here. I got the Lakers as my favorite in the Western Conference. First seed in the West, just before the break, they had beaten the Clippers and the Bucks. So I thought that they should have been crowned champion then and there. But we got a season to be played, so we still got to, get the dubs. But I think LeBron's on a mission. Unfortunately, with the very sad passing and tragedy of Kobe Bryant, I think it added another layer of motivation to just go out and do it. And Lakers are a team led by LeBron, who is one of the best leaders in pro sports. So we have the leader, we have the pieces. I don't want to say we have the coaching because LeBron's pretty much the coach. So I guess you can say we have the coaching then.
I like Frank Vogel.
Yeah, Frank Vogel's a solid coach. But we'll see. I mean, we have everything. We have the recipe for a championship. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of executing. And I think LeBron is going to have every single player engaged and focused on what's at stake. And that's just winning another championship, winning LeBron's 4th and winning the Lakers 17th. So that's my pick. It's pretty straightforward. I know they're the betting odds-on favorite to win it all. So no surprise here, but
are you saying they're going to win it all? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying that they're the odds-on favorite. Okay. I'm not leading on anything. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, there's no foreshadowing here. But yeah, they're my number one pick in the West to move on. They're the first seed currently, as I mentioned, with a record of 49-14. So that's my favorite. Peter,
I'm right there with you. There with you, man. On this, one's an obvious pick. Especially if I chose the Clippers as a contender. I mean, they've got the best record in the West. LeBron's been playing outstanding this year. Anthony Davis has been a very, very good second banana, so to speak. And they've got really good role players, veteran role players at that. Kuzma's obviously the young guy, and he hasn't even really been unleashed this year too much as he could be, in my opinion. But they've got the pieces. The only thing is for me, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here on the picks, but the thing is the depth. Obviously you just lost Rondo. Y'all did add J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, but who knows how that additions are going to be for them.
Peter, watch the highlights of JR today. I don't know if you caught it, but he was balling out.
To see. What did he have his shirt on?
Yeah, I think he had like a bottle of Henny before the game or something because he was just like
got a little round of golf in. He's a big golfer, by the way.
He's a big golfer too. Yeah. Laser focused out there.
Yeah, he must
carry on, Peter.
Yeah, no, I mean I think the Lakers are, to me, they're the favorite in terms of like the top talent, the veteran presence. I mean, how can you deny that? If the only thing is depth. If they get injured, there's no telling. But they seem to be on a mission. They've got the players. They've got. To me, I think Frank Vogel is actually one of the better coaches out there. I like what he did with Indiana. I think he's a solid coach for y'all. I think they're the favorite in the West.
In the West. So there we have it. We have our dark horse, contender, and favorite. Again, to recap, my dark horse was Dallas, my contender was Houston, and my favorite was Lakers. Peter, yours was?
The Pelicans, New Orleans Pelicans as my dark horse. The contender, Los Angeles Clippers, and favorite as well is the Los Angeles Lakers.
So we'll see how accurate we are with those picks as we are going to start the season on Thursday. But those were our each conference's picks. Now we kind of move towards
The
finals, which is going to happen in, I believe, in October. So
That's so
still got a
weird.
ways to go. a lot of things to unfold in between then. But
You're telling me they have to stay in the bubble for, what is that, 4 months, 3 months?
yep, yeah, that's what they signed up for. So, and that's going to be the added equation right there, because I mean, God forbid, or who knows what are some of the stuff that's going to transpire outside the bubble in their respective families that are going to make it challenging. Because let's say, like I said, God forbid, but let's say, family emergency, one of the star players on a certain team, day before a game, or hell, maybe 3 days before a game. But the fact that the protocol is you need to come back and still quarantine for a certain amount of days after you return. I mean, that's just going to be the wild card.
Right.
And so that's something that we're just going to have to, as viewers and as consumers, we're just going to have to take the punches when they come. Whether it's Giannis is going to have to sit out this game because he has to be in quarantine, or LeBron can't play. So that's where I think really depth comes into play, and who really has those teams that can withstand missing players, so on and so forth. So that's why I think when we were making these dark horse picks, who knows, if that happens to a team that they're playing, can they take advantage of that and move on? Something to definitely look at as the season is going to unfold. Because I know, kind of switching, I said that we were going to do only NBA, but kind of switching topics just ever so slightly to MLB, because they canceled a game today, and they canceled a few games in the coming days due to the fact that the Marlins had
10 players,
10 to 13 players and staff that actually contracted the virus. So that is definitely something to be very mindful of. I know the NBA is in a concentrated bubble, so it is a lot more condensed and confined. So hopefully they're going to be able to keep it that way, because MLB is still, go back to your own home, go to the grocery store when you want, et cetera, a lot more opportunity to contract the virus. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, this whole COVID pandemic affecting even the bubble, and how players are going to be able to either play or if they have to sit out. Because MLB, I mean, you got half the team or a quarter of the team that contracts the virus. Who knows how long they have to be quarantined then, and that affects essentially the rest of the schedule.
Yeah.
It's just like a domino effect, if you will. And so I guess we'll kind of see, because baseball is kind of taking that forefront and being that first sport to really be back as far as team sports are concerned. Because I know the Major League Soccer, they're also in somewhat of a bubble down in Orlando as well.
Golf has been back for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
We texted saying it's weird seeing past highlights with all the fans around, and it's like,
oh yeah,
we're so used to it now with no fans. It's like crazy.
It's so crazy. It's like the new norm. We're just witnessing how sports, hopefully not, but for the time being, is shifted towards no fans. And really, it's a missing link, because of course, when we watch sports, of course, we're there to watch the actual sporting event go on, but also it's to see the environment,
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine LSU playing in Death Valley with not a single fan in the stadium. It's just one of those things, because I've watched soccer games where these stadiums are usually packed, and they got the fans singing on the top of their lungs the whole game, into a quiet stadium where all you can hear is the echoes of the players. It's so surreal. But at the same time, it's definitely something that I hope we never see again as we defeat this pandemic and we can go about somewhat of a normalcy post COVID-19 in the sporting world. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how the NBA though is gonna go about their business, and we're just happy. I know you and myself are just happy to have basketball back. So
Yes, indeed. What's your final pick? Who's going to win the NBA championship?
For my finals prediction, I have the Milwaukee Bucks losing 4-2 to the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, surprise, surprise, all along, you know me, I'm the biggest Laker fan, west of the Mississippi. But I have the utmost confidence in this Laker squad. And given the circumstances, given the bubble, given everything going on, this team is primed, fine-tuned, and ready to make that championship run. All the pieces are there for the taking. Milwaukee will give us a tough time. It's not going to be easy. Hell, it's not going to be easy if we face the Clippers. I know for sure. That might as well go the distance. But I think Lakers get to the finals, battle it out with the Bucks. Series tied 2-2. Lakers get the last two, close it out 4-2. Finally getting that next championship that we waited 10 years for. LeBron gets that fourth. That's my prediction. Lakers beating the Bucks. That's all I got for you, Peter. I want to hear yours.
I, too, have LA being the Milwaukee Bucks in the finals. However,
don't do it to me.
Don't do it to me. Los Angeles Clippers. My contender pick is going.
Oh, don't do it. You did it.
I did. I went there. You can leave this pod. I'll just talk to myself and explain this.
No, I'd love to hear what's not going to happen. I'd love to hear it. Go ahead, Peter. I'm very interested, though.
It's going to be a 7-game series between the Bucks, just by the way, in case you were wondering. But and it's going to be a 7-game series against the Lakers, too. The thing is, I just think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard that's a deadly combo, and you mix everything they got. That depth versus the Lakers in the long run, I think will wear them down. I don't even think I don't want to put any bad juju on the Lakers or anything like that. But there's going to be some sort of injury, maybe not to LeBron or AD, but to one of their they're just going to continue just getting hammered with little injuries with terms of role players and everything like that. I just don't think they can overcome that. Just my opinion. And in terms of being the Clippers being the Bucks, like I've been saying about Giannis, talent, production, still raw though. I think with Kawhi Leonard right now, the way he's been playing the past 2 years, the man he's got the recipe for success. And like I said, he's going to sprinkle it on the Clippers as well. There it is.
I'm really disappointed in that, Peter, because I hold your opinions to a very high standard, and the fact that you willingly took the Clippers knowing how that would make me feel very disrespectful, if you will.
But probably hurt my credibility with you.
It took a drop, that's for sure. But no, in all seriousness, the Clippers are a fantastic team, top to bottom. You talked about the depth. You talked about how skilled they are. Doc Rivers, fantastic coach. God forbid, and you did mention it, God forbid anything happens to either LeBron or AD. God forbid. As a Laker fan, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I know that we don't have anybody to even step up to be that role. Yes, we have Kuzma, right? But, I mean, from a playmaking standpoint, especially if it's Bron, it's going to be tough. What really separates the Clippers, though, is that, yes, when you stack up LeBron and AD and compare it to Kawhi and Paul George, most people would take LeBron and AD, right?
However, right, no, the top level for sure.
Yeah. However, once you start looking at their role players and their bench and the depth outside of that, I mean, we talked about the 2-6 men, and God forbid something happened to Kawhi. Clippers are still in a position to at least produce in a way that's going to be competitive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at some of these point spreads, and I'm going to go into a little bit of Vegas because they have huge ramifications on the sports and what goes on. But if LeBron, let's say, were missing in a game, the swing would be tremendous.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
It turns from like Lakers -6 to who knows, the other team +2 or the other team -2. Sorry. You know, it's such a big swing because that's how much he means to the team. You know, if you lose Kawhi for a game, and they had plenty of games where they were missing Kawhi this year due to load management, you know, they still are a tough out for any team to play. So that's something definitely to note, just due to the fact that injuries are always going to be a probability in the game. But I think health and everything all equal, I still will never choose the Clippers. I'm going with the Lakers, but I can't take away anything from your opinion, Peter, because it's a good take. It
very well could happen.
Passes the eye test. I mean, you guys beat us, or I'm not going to say you guys, the Clippers beat us.
I'm not a Clipper.
You know,
Pelican.
on Christmas Day, you know, and all I wanted for Christmas was that dub, but I didn't get it. I will get it though. I will get it though. And I will have that last laugh as a Laker fan. But this one's really not for me, not for Laker Nation. But you see that jersey right there, number 24 right there.
Bean.
Yep. This ship is going to be for Mr. Bean, who just yesterday marked the 6-month anniversary, which is crazy. I mean, I don't even know how to really intake that because it's been like so much stuff has happened within that 6 months. But at the same time, it's like, damn, it's only been 6 months. So it's like so crazy to think about. But as we start our season on Thursday, guess who we're playing? We're playing the Clippers. We're going to start off with that nice little W. And we're going to continue that on to get that championship for Mr. Bean.
Yes, indeed.
But,
I always admire your fandom for the Lakers. It's not bandwagoner. It's very diehard. This guy right here is a diehard Laker fan, ride and die, and you know I admire that. I really do. Like we said, if they're healthy, I think they've got the best talent and the best experience to do it. But are they going to be healthy?
Just don't bring your Pelicans involved, all right? If you bring the Pelicans involved, I may be biting my fingernails a little bit. But give me anyone else. I think Lakers are definitely going to be the favorite. But that's all we have. We had a jam-packed show today, a lot of NBA talk, a lot of expectations and opinions, and just kind of forecasting hopefully what's to come in these coming months. But I'm glad that you guys joined in. Peter, thank you again for your wonderful takes. And we did agree on most things today, but at the same time, we do provide, our own opinions and insights regarding that. But man, fantastic stuff.
Good stuff, man. As always, y'all be safe. Loved it. Mr. Ryan Rama, Anak Ryan. Anak. Loved it.
Anak, Peter. Everyone stay safe and enjoy some NBA basketball. Goodbye, everyone.
Peace.